Jonathan Taylor is one of the guys who's got to have a really good game on Sunday for the Colts to get over the top of the Denver Broncos. You've got to be able to control the football. You can't just try to get splash play after splash play. You hope to get a couple of those, but you have got to be able to ground and pound a little bit against this defense that's one of the best in the NFL against the run. They are really, really good. Jonathan Taylor, one of those guys who's got to perform at an A level this weekend for the Colts to keep themselves in the playoff hunt.
The bye week was nice. I always tell a lot of guys it's not even so much as the physical aspect, but more so the mental aspect. You know, you're in every day. Every week there's a new scheme that you have to learn. There's new plays. It's a lot, and it's long days. So just having that mental reset is always nice, so you can come back mentally fresh to just go back and give it your all.
When you're a running back and you see that late bye week, I mean, what's your initial thought of what's it like to get to this point where you're like, okay, I got to the bye week and I'm fresh and actually healthy to be able to be out there?
Yes, and we see a late bye week, it can be an advantage too, like you mentioned, especially if you get to the bye week fresh, semi-fresh, or like, hey, this week off would do, wonders. So just being able to be feeling like this at this point in time, I feel like it's an advantage. But I know it's tough. It's tough to get to this point.
Are you 0% football during that bye week, and what's the process of getting back to 100% this week as you get back into the building?
Well, number one, I think it definitely starts the day before. I mean, you start going in, prepping, looking at some film. Of course, you probably will watch the game before, maybe in the middle of the week. Probably will leave the iPad alone the first 2 days, then look at the game, and then enjoy the rest of the bye week. But then, of course, the day before, maybe 2 days before, just start diving back in. It doesn't have to be heavy because, we'll go through our normal process. But other than that, it's just that mental reset. Staying active, getting a sweat, whether it's on the bike, sauna. But just that mental reset, I think, is even more beneficial than the physical aspect because it can be a lot mentally.
This game's got pretty big implications. Just what tells you that Anthony's ready to kind of rise to that moment on Sunday?
I mean, we've been saying it, though. I think you guys have seen the poise, especially in certain moments, especially late in the game. That usually comes from some of those veteran quarterbacks that have been in those situations a ton of times. So to see him have that poise, no matter what the situation is, I mean, we're literally on a 19-play drive to go in and win the game. To see him have that composure, have that poise, I just think that it won't be any different, going forward at all. I just think it's something special. Like I said, for him being that young to be able to have those moments, it's awesome to see.
Seemed like that New England game, you had a little bit more production than you had in the previous weeks. So what do you think was the difference for the run game?
Number one, especially, with some of the moving parts of the O-line, you got 5 guys up front who now are communicating differently, and now you have the running back group who are now trying to figure out how to communicate with the new 5 guys up front that are newly communicating. So just figuring out that communication and just making sure, hey, what are you guys seeing up front? What are you guys thinking? This is our parameters. This is our kind of detail for the scheme. And then putting that together should show up on Sundays.
JT, you had the receiving touchdown in that game, stretched out, scored on that one. But what do you can add to the passing game and kind of helping Anthony just keep drives alive?
Number one, just making sure that, especially the running back group as a whole, making sure that we're in our spots. A lot of times, if there's things covered downfield, most of the time that means, the back, somebody's left open. Things downfield kind of aren't there. So just making sure that we're all in our spot so that he has an outlet. And then you never know, those 3-4 yard, little completions may turn into 10, 11, and then now we're keeping the chains moving.
Just out of curiosity, when you're near the goal line, when do you reach? I know they teach you not to, but as a player, you want to. So what's the balance like for you when you're like, I'm right here?
Really, the balance is just when I can be right. That's the only thing. You got to be right. Just make sure you're right.
Jake, it's been a little bit since you had one of those really long runs that we know you obviously can do. I mean, do you find yourself itching for that? Do you think your guys are close to breaking some of those? How do you kind of get over that hurdle?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were close last week. There was one run last week that we thought definitely could have went. But a lot of times, one, it's just everybody being in their positions, alignment, assignment, and technique. But then it ultimately may come down to a one-on-one. You got to make somebody miss, or it just comes down to just one person hanging onto a block a little longer. So you got to keep attacking at full speed. Don't give up on it. Just keep staying on your alignment, assignment, and technique, and it'll come. Like I said, we almost had one last week, but we'll make sure we get it. We'll get it.
All right. There's Jonathan Taylor. It looks like he's fresh after a bye week. Looks like he's ready to go, and he's going to have to be ready to go if the Colts are going to be able to score points against a really good Denver Bronco defense. It can't just be Anthony Richardson slinging it deep to Alec Pierce. That can't be where this offense gets its productivity. It's also got to come from Jonathan Taylor. Need some splash plays from him. That's the difference. That was the difference like in 2020 when they went to the playoffs, had a really good 2021. Now in 2024, he's going to get to 1,000 yards, you would think. I mean, that's almost a certainty. So it's not been a bad year, but he needs to have some of those splash plays in order to beat a team that's as good defensively as the Denver Broncos.